Okay, so item 3, a general overview of police and crime plan progress. So just wonder, Chief, if you can just give us an overview in the simplest of terms, really, on how you feel that we're delivering against, I suppose, the Catalyst plan.
Yeah, I'll do sort of both Catalyst and the police and crime plans. So in terms of restoring and embedding neighbourhood policing, as opposed to keeping it, say, extremely high level, we've got a 22% increase compared to this time last year of number of officers deployed within neighbourhood policing, and that's part of our neighbourhood guarantee uplift. So that's sort of good news. The slight, say, downside to that is that we've had a very slight drop in members of the public reporting on visibility. It's only a very small drop, but as we've increased our numbers, we're seeing that go down. So we're looking at some work that we do around city and town centres in particular, around getting that visibility out there. So certainly over the Christmas period, people will be seeing a lot more yellow jackets in the key areas at the key times. So hopefully that will give that trust and confidence that we really do have more people out there on the front face. ASB has gone down compared to this time last year. That's currently down at the moment by 19% lower than the same period last year. So some really good news. Some repeats have also gone down, so some very good areas. And that's really the highlights in relation to the neighbourhood policing plans. In terms of tackling violence against women and girls, we've seen an increase in domestic abuse cases being reported, but we've seen a decrease in the number of repeat victims. When we've done a bit of a dive into some of those areas, we've seen a significant increase in the number of civil orders and disclosure schemes that we're doing. So, for example, DVPNs and DVPOs are up 39 and 36% respectively compared to this time last year. So doing an awful lot more work around that preventative area. But what that does entail is a lot more details around previous reports that have previously would have been unnoticed. But it's certainly not something that we are complacent around at all. We've seen again, slight increase in positive outcome rates, just sort of about a percentage point. Again, probably not where we would like to be, but an improving picture and sort of doing very well compared to our MSG and regional colleagues. We've seen an increase in outcome 16 as well, which is something that we were looking at before. We think, from doing some of the deep dive, a lot of that work is that we're now getting much better at recording our outcome codes correctly, which was obviously, as you're aware from the previous work that we did through Catalyst, was an area that we were challenged upon. So using the outcome calculator, if I want to call it that, the outcome tool, much more accurate, but that's seeing an increase in the right area. So we're getting back to where probably it always has been, but we're understanding it a lot better now. In terms of tackling knife crime and serious violence, the rolling 3-year rate for homicides for murder is down. Probably would be not right for me to sort of make that comment without saying, obviously, we know that we had a murder at the very beginning of this week. Obviously, the genuine thoughts are with the families and friends of the victim, and obviously the progress is being made in relation to that investigation. In terms of other decreases, violent knife crime is down 5.4%, possessions are up 4.6%. 50% of those possessions, which I know sounds like it's getting a bit too statistics on statistics, but basically half of that increase is down to us being proactive and actually going into people's houses or pockets to search for weapons, and the other half are when we recover them separately. Moving on to Catalyst, some of the sort of quality assurance data. We've mentioned before QUAT, which is our looking at the quality of our investigations. That's getting our supervisors to go into a deep dive and actually have a look at how well our staff are doing things, as well as just actually the sort of the more tick box culture. We've now reviewed 6,142 investigations since this process began. We're averaging between 3.4 and 3.6 out of 5, which is where we've sort of settled, and that's sort of around probably a little bit higher than some other forces doing QUAT, but only a fraction higher. So it's probably where we need to be for quality supervisors, suspect management and victim focus. And then the other areas that we measure on and report on previously about victim updates, supervisory updates and investigation plans, we sit at 96.6 and 96.4. So again, really good consistent performance. We sort of aim to always be 95% compliant and above.
Yeah.
So we're sitting sort of comfortably within that. The probably only other area to update, and I'll pass over to Rob if he wishes to, is we're now moving into the next set of our PL inspections, and Rob is setting up a new sort of governance framework to actually start to have a look at how we prepare for that. But Rob, I don't know if you wish to give a quick overview.
Yeah, I can give a very quick overview. Yeah, so we're going to retain the brand Catalyst, which was our response to when we went into enhanced monitoring last year. And instead of just focusing on those areas that were picked out for us then, we're now going to look across all 10 pillars. That journey starts on Monday actually, so the first of those pillar meetings will be on Monday, a meeting dedicated to each pillar with a strategic lead for each of those areas. There'll actually be 9 meetings rather than 10 because the leadership one is an umbrella header, and then there are 9 that sit beneath those. Would people be interested in those 9, or can I expect that people will know the 9?
Well, just quickly, very
just give a real quick favour. Yeah. So leadership and force management is the first of those pillars, but I say we'll sit across everything. We've then got recording data, use of police powers, investigation of crime, managing offenders, responding to the public, etc., etc., etc. So all of the things that you would expect to see. As I say, a governance meeting for each of those with a strategic lead who are armed with the HMIC questions, but better than that, are armed with the HMIC answers. So the HMIC are very open in what they say they are looking for under each of their questions, under each of those pillar heads. And so there's no excuse really for us not to be thoroughly prepared for that. And we will be prepared for that through that new governance.
And the reality of those nine pillars is that it's a very thorough process.
Absolutely.
Looking at all parts of policing.
Absolutely.
Just to reassure the public that there really aren't many parts of policing that are left out of this at all.
I think you're absolutely right. It takes it almost as if policing were a production line. So it measures the way that we receive calls and handle calls, how we send officers out, so how quickly they respond and how effectively they respond when they get there, how they investigate those crimes. There's a separate one for the way that we manage both offenders and suspects. There's one for the way that we manage vulnerable people. There's one for the way that we respond to serious and organised crime. So pretty much every facet of policing you could think about is inspected, yes, really thoroughly.
And just sorry, my last sort of point is, I know that you've produced a booklet to sort of round up, I suppose, Catalyst, and I suppose in many ways setting the tone for what you're sort of looking at as in almost like a where to now. So you've got, well, what I really want to point out is that you've clearly got your eye on the ball for the next process that is coming to us, rather than reacting to it. We're planning for that.
Absolutely, yeah. So we know now that our inspection in earnest will commence in mid-2027. And so, as you say, rather than waiting until the early months of 2027 to get ourselves into a state of preparedness, we're starting now. So we'll have 18 months, 20 months to ready ourselves across all of those pillars. And yeah, we are aspiring for outstanding. And the HMIC indicate to you where you need to be outstanding. So they give you the questions that they're going to ask with the answers that go along with them. And that's what we're aspiring to.
So I suppose from a public point of view, the reality of that is that you're not taking your foot off the pedal. Whilst Catalyst has put us in a really stable, good position and the arrow is pointing in the right direction, we are now looking to press on to improve on what we've already delivered and just bring even a better service to the communities of Nottingham.
Absolutely, yeah. It will act as a platform for where we go next. So across those 3 areas of business, we would say that we're in a really good position. In fact, if the HMIC came to inspect us now, we would say across leadership and governance, across investigations and across neighbourhood policing, it would be a very different story to the one that we saw 18 months ago. And so we are keeping our foot truly on the gas in respect of those 3, but applying the foot with equal pressure to the other 7 areas of business.
Absolutely. And it's interesting as well that obviously the Home Office are quite interested in using Nottinghamshire as a benchmark for not only neighbourhoods but various other areas within the business to demonstrate to other forces.
They are, yes. So, and not only government but also College of Policing, HMRC, IOPC and so on.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Okay then, on to item 4. Item 4 is tackling serious violence and knife crime. And it's a presentation from DCI Claire Gould and Chief Inspector Kylie Davis, and I suppose it's very prominent that we have this today in view of the incidents that have happened in St Anne's, and just to say that our thoughts and prayers are with the family of the deceased and the victims in this horrendous crime that's happened, and hopefully we can get to just some form of justice for the family and some form of closure. So over to Kylie.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So I'll start with knife crime. So just to give a bit of a background in the national context, so data from the Office of National Statistics states that England and Wales recorded knife-enabled crime by the police in the year ending March 2025 decreased by 1% compared to the previous year. I'd just like to note here with regards to what knife-enabled crime actually includes, so that's offences where a knife or a sharp instrument, so for example a screwdriver, have been used to injure a victim or used as a threat, and this will include offences where the weapon may not have been seen at all but is believed to have been present at the time of the offence. Most knife-enabled crime takes place in metropolitan areas. The Metropolitan Police recorded 31% of all offences, West Midlands recorded 8% and Greater Manchester 6%. The Metropolitan Police Service recorded a 9% increase and Manchester was a 2% increase, with West Midlands seeing a 15% decrease. Overall, police recorded possession of an article with a blade or point offences increased by 2% in year ending March 2025. The latest provisional administration's data for NHS hospitals showed a 10% decrease in the number of admissions for assault by a sharp object, and that's a 26% decrease compared to 2020. So locally, Nottinghamshire Police employs a multi-agency approach to tackle knife crime, working with the public, private and third sectors. Communications and engagement activities support evidence-based approaches to reduce knife crime and incidents. The force focuses on highlighting the dangers of carrying knives, enhancing public confidence and reassuring the community. We've had improved training and education initiatives that are in place alongside disruption tactics such as stop and search. Continued funding from the Home Office GRIP and Violence Reduction Programme ensures the capability and capacity to drive performance and reduce public risk. And Nottinghamshire Police has a clear plan around tackling knife crime and has been recognised nationally as best practice. The organisation's proactive resource and high visibility patrols in hotspot areas are crucial for maintaining community safety, and the commitment to delivering an outstanding service is evident throughout our monitoring strategies and strong partnership working. Looking at the Office of National Statistics data for Nottinghamshire, we've seen a 1% decrease in knife-enabled offending, also so in line with the national decrease. And our figures are just on the screen with regards to our rolling 12 months. Regardless of the data for knife crime, it's obviously without a doubt a national societal issue that negatively impacts people from all backgrounds, such as the consequence that it has on communities, victims and families from both perpetrators and injured parties, which has obviously prompted the PCC to identify driving down knife crime as a priority. And the PCC's objective strongly aligns with the Chief Constable's pledge of fighting crime and protecting vulnerable people. So I just want to talk about a bit of the work that we've done in Nottinghamshire and that goes on nationally. So SEPTA is a year-round national scheme with 2 weeks a year intensification focus, one in May and one in November. The November one's actually next week. So I just wanted to go over some of our results from the May one. So we had 23 knife sweeps conducted all over the county, 45 stop searches which resulted in 12 arrests and 5 knives recovered, 30 direct arrests, 3 of which were related to knife point robberies, 2 uses of the knife arches in Mansfield and city centre locations, 8 search warrants with regards to knife offences, 13 test purchase operations, which were conducted all around the force with our knife crime team and cadets. There was just 1 failure to comply with that, and so action was took in conjunction with trading standards. Other than the visits there, we also did 21 other retailer visits with regards to places that sell knives, with 4 amnesty bins with 222 knives deposited, and included in those were nunchucks, imitation butterfly knives, samurai swords, zombie knives, bayonets, and finger/punch blades. From an engagement and educational point of view, during the SEPTA week, we had meetings with dedicated safeguarding leads at schools, parish council meetings, weapons awareness and knife crime inputs in primary schools, engagement events and knife crime related videos shown on the large screen at Victoria Centre. We also take part in a national knife crime working group. So we sit on this with all forces, as well as persons from the private sector, the Home Office, College of Policing, Border Force, third sector partners, etc. And we discuss best practice, legislative change and strands of work under the Prevent, Pursue, Protect and Prepare strands. So for example, current discussions and work in progress are around technology, importation and supply, involvement and inclusion of the community and voluntary sectors, knife retailing and regulation, data and academia, prosecutions and outcomes, and optimising frontline response. So we go through the 4 Ps for knife crime. So I'll just go over a few things that we're doing under all of those headings. So prepare, the prepare strand weaves through the rest of the 3 Ps and focuses on building the highest levels of defence and resilience in vulnerable people, communities, businesses, systems and officers. There's a variety of methods and tools, both locally and nationally, to look to tackle the issue of knife crime through a whole system approach. Under prevent, we've got the capacity and assets to meet current and future demands with regards to knife crime, and we've demonstrated that we have a strong handle on understanding of knife crime and have been, as I say, assessed at national level for best practice. Furthermore, our response strongly focuses on PCC Safe in Nottinghamshire for All, whilst putting communities and victims first and strengthening partner relationships and working to provide a resilient policing response. We've revamped our schools knife crime package and training for new starters, making it bespoke to the audience's needs, and continue to undertake work with key stakeholders and partner agencies in this area to ensure our inputs are relevant and pitched correctly at different age groups. And consequently, we've received really good feedback from partners and staff with regards to our mini police, for example. Our engagement and citizens in policing team within the Prevention Hub are dedicated to early intervention and fostering positive relationships with young people. They do this through various initiatives, such as our schools officers, mini police, youth outreach workers and police volunteer cadets. By doing this, we're helping to develop meaningful engagement with young people and actively steer them away from crime. And by engaging directly with schools and the community, we're also building trust, providing guidance and creating a supportive environment that empowers the young people to make positive choices. Knife crime prevention is obviously a key element of our knife crime strategy and plan, and we work alongside our partners to keep residents and visitors to Nottingham and Nottinghamshire safe, to relentlessly tackle knife crime and criminality, to make Nottingham a hostile environment for knife crime offenders, and to dissuade and divert people from entering a cycle of knife-related offending or victimisation. Collaboration with third sector partners has led to more arrests and the removal of weapons from the streets and is crucial to our work. And our youth outreach team work on a one-to-one basis with young people aged between 8 and 16 who are vulnerable, socially excluded, involved in or at risk of crime, again with the aim of diverting them away from that. We've also had a Community Kicks programme put in. That's again through the Prevention Hub. It's a grassroots football tournament and family fun day for young people across Nottinghamshire. The most recent event saw more than 400 players and 43 teams take part, and an estimated 2,000 people turned out to support the tournament. Whilst we put on the tournament, lots of partners come and take part in it as well, and there is knife crime inputs and knife crime virtual reality as well to give an educational input to them. And then with regards to Pursue, resilience is obviously a strong point, and there's always 7 days a week cover from proactive and reactive teams to deal with knife crime. So whether that is the dedicated knife crime team that we have in force, our priority tasking teams, response or neighbourhoods policing. Our dedicated knife crime team were one of the first teams outside of London, and they've been directly responsible for over 1,000 weapons being taken off the streets since their inception. To a lesser extent, knife-enabled offences such as possession of bladed articles are processed by our prisoner handling teams, and more serious jobs are dealt with by our criminal investigation teams. The use of latest technology, including investigative facial recognition, fingerprint devices, upgraded CCTV and improved support networks and intelligence has also helped us greatly improve our service. And partners that we work with now have access to radios with body-worn cameras, allowing nightclub staff and store owners to record and report incidents directly to council CCTV operators, who then have a direct link to the officers on the ground. We have a mobile CCTV van that is able to be deployed in city areas for crime prevention, detection and deterrence, as well as intelligence and the increase in knife possession offences that we've seen in force can be largely attributed to proactive work, with proactive policing responsible for over 50% of possession offences that have been detected. We've got a robust knife crime guidance document in force with regards to dealing with knife-related incidents. So this ensures a consistent and robust approach to knife crime, and in particular possession offences. It supports officers to consider powers of arrest wherever possible to ensure crimes are dealt with robustly and expeditiously, and considering whether to detain, bail or charge persons as well. And then finally, under the Protect strand, changes to the Offensive Weapons Act are expected to continue to impact offence numbers. So these changes include the prohibition of zombie knives, zombie-style weapons and ninja swords. The ninja sword ban was recently introduced, and in Nottinghamshire we took part in an amnesty scheme preparing for its introduction as well. Our youth engagement team also work with partners to maximise funding opportunities to deliver locally based interventions. So working with funding from the Violence Reduction Partnership, teams have delivered several 12-week group programmes aimed at improving outcomes for young people who are vulnerable, socially excluded or involved in or at risk of crime. The programmes include sessions on knife crime and personal safety, as well as cybersecurity and online security, substance abuse prevention, county lines, and child sexual exploitation and criminal exploitation. The sessions help to educate young people on crime prevention and aim to improve knowledge of and reduce the likelihood of attendees being victims of high harm offences. And then our current cadet programme, which is delivered in 7 cadet bases, is a mixture of police and skills-based activities and sessions. This includes guest speakers and visits. Knowledge of the policing world is delivered through these sessions, including ones around knife crime, and the aim is to improve the knowledge of and reduce the likelihood of them becoming victims. It's hoped that their knowledge and understanding will then have a ripple effect when it is shared with their friends and family and school peers and the wider community. And we're also currently working towards delivering weapons surrender bins in key locations in the community, as opposed to just in police stations, due to the feedback around persons being unwilling to bring weapons into stations. I'll hand over to DCI.
Good afternoon, I'm Claire Gould. Apologies for my raspy voice, it came as a buy one get one free with my chest infection. So tackling serious violence and knife crime remains a key priority for Nottinghamshire Police, and this reaffirms our commitment to making communities safer through increased partnership collaboration, youth intervention programmes, investment in neighbourhood policing and a strengthened response to violent crime. It aligns with our local strategic objectives, and we work closely with the Violence Reduction Partnership in our effort to reduce the prevalence and the impact of serious violence. A significant proportion of serious violence in Nottinghamshire does involve a knife crime element, which remains a key operational priority for Nottinghamshire Police and our partner agencies. Knife-enabled violence has the propensity to cause serious injury or life-threatening harm, and is a contributor to overall volume of serious and violent offences across the county. Evidence indicates that knife-related incidents are often linked to youth violence, with many perpetrators and victims being young people, and as we know, a lot of the time they're in the teens and at risk of child criminal exploitation. These individuals are frequently affiliated with local geographic gangs, and they're often mapped by our intelligence department, and they tend to be informal, peer-based groups as opposed to your structured criminal enterprises. That activity, however, can still be highly violent, territorial, and it's disruptive to the communities. In many cases, knife-enabled violence is also associated with county lines drug dealing and can involve child criminal exploitation. They often can resort to violence and intimidation, and can involve the use of weapons to assert dominance in contested drug markets. So we have a public protection department which has a dedicated care team which stands for the children at risk of exploitation, and they focus on child criminal exploitation. And working closely with our statutory partners, which include social care, education, public health, we aim to tackle this at root cause level. Next slide, thank you. We continue to be engaged at all levels within the organisation with our statutory and non-statutory and charity partners, and we're committed to working with our IAGs, including the youth IAGs and the Violence Reduction Partnership, where we aim to leverage a holistic response to serious violence and reducing the impact of that on our communities. So the volume of serious violence has seen a significant and sustained reductions year on year, which is what the graph there will demonstrate. And for 2025, we are forecasted to have a 21.12% reduction in serious violence. The number of recorded serious violence offences per year decreased in 2024 compared to 2023, and that's predicted to reduce again in 2025. So we have 311 offences recorded so far, and that's predicted to give us a number of 396 offences for 2025. So again, there we've got a comparison table, and this does show that we have had increases in violence in our city centre, in the City North and in the Newark and Sherwood neighbourhood policing areas. And it outlines a general trend, but also this could be due to some attentions we've seen in these areas, particularly in the city centre and in the City North. And I'm sure you'll all be aware at the start of 2025, we did have a spate of some quite high profile incidents in the city centre, where there's unfortunately some stabbings. However, the other neighbourhood policing areas, so 9 out of the 12, have shown decreased levels of serious violence. City South, you'll see there, has got a reduction of 55%. The City West has a reduction of 48%. And then you've got Mansfield with a reduction of 44% as well. So the City South is particularly notable given this traditionally has been a prominent area for us for serious violence in the past. So some of the enforcement and the work that we've done with our partners has seen some real significant reductions in serious violence across that area. We continue to do quarterly demand and asset assessments, which look at our capacity and capability to meet current and future demand, and that indicates that we will be able to continue to meet that demand that we face. So in terms of our planned mitigation, we aim to increase the use of civil orders, which we have been doing this year in particular, to tackle serious violence. That includes criminal behaviour orders and serious violence orders. And also we're looking at increasing the use of out-of-court disposals, which has increased in 2025, and we've seen limited recidivism rates demonstrative of their success. Early interventions are crucial to preventing crime and protecting the futures of children and young people in our communities. So we're committed to working with the Violence Reduction Partnership with our community groups. So we work closely with the Kaya Project, as Inspector Davies has explained. We work with grassroots, with the community kicks, just to try and divert youth from the pathways into crime. And also we're committed to implementing the Young Futures Prevention Panels, which are obviously intended to focus on those young people who are at risk of becoming embroiled in crime and criminal activity and steer them away from those avenues. So the key areas and risks for improvements. So across knife crime and serious violence then, we do have the knife crime risk register and problem solving approach. So that risk register holds a number of key individuals that we see, the intelligence will suggest are at the greatest risk of harm to our county. We utilise stop and search data better, and we are increasing the use of stop and search where appropriate to tackle those who carry knives or other weapons on our streets. As we said, with OPSEPTA, we've got the community amnesty bins, and as I've touched on, we're looking at increasing the use of those orders, the criminal behaviour orders and serious violence orders. We'll continue to work closely with our prevention hub to focus on preventing crime and harm before they happen. We work with our Serious and Organised Crime Command to tackle and disrupt county lines offending, which is synonymous with serious violence and is often weapon-enabled. And we've got an increased understanding of trauma-informed practice, where we're trying to rebuild that trust and strain relationships with our communities. And then horizon scanning, we've got a great utilisation of evidence-based policing, which is led mainly by our prevention hub. We've expanded our strategic partners. We'll continue to engage with our IAGs and youth IAGs, and now our CIDs are starting to attend youth IAGs, and the intention is that they will start to attend our IAGs as well, so they can see the work that the Criminal Investigations Department are doing to tackle serious violence. We'll continue to promote the use of out-of-court disposals. We'll continue to work with the Violence Reduction Partnership, again with a focus on trauma-informed practice, and we'll continue to work with the partnership to implement the Young Futures Prevention Panels, which again aims to spot vulnerability and intervene early before young people become embroiled in criminality. And yeah, I think that's it.
Lovely, thank you for that. Very comprehensive report. And it's really good to see some of the reductions that are there. That's really good news. However, there is sort of a rise in the city centre and city north, which I suppose in essence is concerning. Can you just explain to me what is kind of being done to address those issues and those targeted areas?
Yeah, so we work closely with our neighbourhood policing teams. So we have intelligence-led policing that So that feeds in. Every day we have the knife crime report, so a daily knife crime report, so that shows what incidents have happened. We have the bi-weekly threat assessments for knife crime and serious violence, which again tell us what incidents are happening, where the tensions are, where our highest harm risk of individuals are. We also map our USGs, which are urban street gangs. So we have dedicated neighbourhood policing inspectors and detective inspectors who have responsibility for their USGs. So we map the activity, so we get an indication of where the tensions are, which is, as you will see, we've had some tensions in the city north and the city centre. And every month that's reported in to our force tasking, where we then set our priorities for the coming months, so we can understand the hotspots, understand the trends, understand where the tensions are and what we think those tensions are about, and that's where we can target our resources for the coming months. So as you'll see, City North and City Centre are our priorities for the next tasking period, and we'll monitor the incidents that we've had in those areas at the time.
So, yeah, the knife crime team will then be deployed to those areas with a clear understanding of the intelligence on those areas. So they'll collect more intelligence, do proactive patrols, proactive stop searches, and also work with the local neighbourhood teams with regards to that. And then with the children on the knife crime cohort list, those will be discussed at neighbourhood disruption meetings between inspectors of those areas and all manner of partner agencies, just to make sure that every agency is doing what they can with regards to those children as well.
Okay. Do we know if there's like a common theme and kind of the why, I suppose, is the question of why are these two areas suddenly sort of spiking a little bit for us?
No, they tend to be, a lot of the incidents aren't linked. However, we do have some urban street gangs that we know are active in those areas. As I said through my slides, we did have an area where City South was particularly problematic, where we had a lot of tensions there, but through our intelligence-led policing, through our enforcement in that area, that's kind of disrupted a lot of those tensions, and they've kind of moved to other areas. So as we said, a lot of it is synonymous with county lines, and we work really closely with our Serious Organised Crime Command, who work hard on identifying and mapping our county lines, and they work to disrupt them and close them. So just with some statistics around county lines, in January 2025 we had 25 active county lines, and that's currently at 8, which is indicative of a lot of the work we're doing to disrupt those county lines, which can often lead to serious violence, can lead to tensions in those areas. So we continue to try and disrupt those, which does have an impact on the violence that we see in those areas.
I think it's probably worth highlighting as well, if I may, that when we do get a series that we get either the intelligence or the crime pattern analysis, say for example the City Centre at the beginning of the year that obviously was alluded to earlier on, we put the full weight of the force behind it. So Operation Listing, as we refer to it within the policing, so high visibility covert policing, both taking place around the city centre, disruption of people who we knew were taking place, working with the BID and other partnerships to try and actually flood the area with other capable guardians, or more yellow jackets in simple terms, to try and actually suppress it, because then suppression is probably a good tactic to give us the headroom to go and do the investigation, find out who these people are, and then put them through the criminal justice system. We've mentioned out of court disposals have a really good desistance rate. That's absolutely very, very true. We continue to push it. But if somebody has committed a serious offence, and like we have saw with Listing, then we will obviously look for the whole criminal justice system to put the weight behind it.
All right, thank you for that. That's good. Just another one as well for you. Obviously, there's a lot of activity taking place. I suppose understanding and trying to dismantle the links between organised crime and urban street gangs. What sort of work is being done? I think you kind of touched on it a little bit to sort of do that.
Yeah, as I say, we have our force tasking process where we all come together every month. We've got our serious and organised crime team who look and map those county lines so we can understand where the offending is, where our hotspots and our trends are. Then we have our enforcement, like you say, when we've got tension in a particular area, that's where we'll have our visibility, and that's where we'll tackle where the tensions are. And I'm sorry if you could just repeat the question, because through my cough I've trailed off.
No, it's just a little bit to understand, I suppose, the dismantling of organised crime groups and urban street gangs, and how you're sort of tackling that, I suppose, and attacking it from a policing point of view.
Yeah, so as I've touched on, we do have the local responsible officers who are at least at inspector level, who own the USGs, the OSGs. They will then feed in to Superintendent Will Henley, who is the head of the Serious and Organised Crime Command, and what they'll do is they'll feed back on a monthly basis in terms of who are their highest armed individuals in the urban street gangs, what tensions we've got in that area, what incidents we've seen in that area, and that will then prioritise our resources and how we respond to that. We're also really alive to child criminal exploitation, which we know urban street gangs, a lot of them are exploited and drawn into that world of offending. So we focus on actually who are the people who are coercing and manipulating our youngsters into crime. So who are these people who are the upstream, who are actually running these county lines. So we focus on identifying them and taking those out who are higher in the tree, who are exploiting young children. So our focus isn't just on the youngsters that are involved in it, it's actually tackling it at root cause level with those who are exploiting them.
So in essence, there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes that the communities don't see to really keep a grip of these organisations. And I suppose the success of it is around the 25 to 8.
Yes.
It's the tactics that you've used and the strategy that you've put in place has resulted in a considerable reduction and enabled you to also manage what there is as well. So through what you've just described, I suppose.
Yeah, that's right,
Yeah, absolutely.
Commissioner, it's probably just worth adding to that.
Sorry, sir.
For each of those organised crime groups and for each of those urban street gangs who have an LRO who takes responsibility for the dismantling, each of those have got a 4Ps plan, so all of the activity that has just been described by Claire fits into a 4Ps plan. So we're always thinking about preparing for what is happening in that area, how communities can protect themselves, what we might do to prevent or divert, and finally pursue. That they are the 4Ps, and there are work strands underneath each of those for each of those USGs and OCGs.
Okay, lovely, thank you. Angela.
Thank you. The report notes links between serious violence, knife crime and child criminal exploitation. What steps are being taken to ensure that girls and young women affected by gang-related violence and exploitation are being identified and safeguarded effectively?
It would be, to be fair, it would be similar. So obviously violence against women and girls is a massive part of our work in the city centre as well, and through all the areas. It would be similar with regards to the boys. It can be the criminal exploitation, the sexual exploitation. The female victims of that are still discussed in the neighbourhood disruption meetings. If they are part of the gangs, they are mapped as part of the gangs. If they're affiliated with the gangs, we sometimes see girls being asked to carry knives because they're less likely to get searched than boys, for example. If they're an affiliate of the gang, they'll still be mapped as being an affiliate of the gang, so included in that. And it's the multi-agency work around it with regards to what other agencies can do as well to help us, to help them with regards to social services, schools, education in general, anything we can put in place for girls as well to take them out of that area and give them other things to do, much like we do with the boys. So we work with partner agencies with regards to that. It's not just football that we do focus on football quite a lot, but we have a plethora of other initiatives that we involve people in as well.
I think probably 18 months ago, if you'd have said, who do you think is at risk of a child of being exploited, I think we'd have had a good guess. And I think what we can do now, we've got a dedicated analyst who works across the partnership, who's got access to the full range of data, public protection notices, everything else, to actually identify these people, map them, track them, almost put them through like the whole management system that we do now, to actually say these people are at risk, what interventions can we take place? So there is a fundamental better understanding now of not just who is at risk, but who's likely to be at risk, who's working through that system, so we can put that intervention in much, much, much earlier, because obviously if we can prevent people getting into that cycle, it's a lot easier than trying to abstract them from it. So with that dedicated analyst who works within the care team is absolutely worth their weight in gold, and say someone that we're obviously looking to continue going, because the understanding now is, well, I would say quite confidently, a lot better than it ever has been. So, Robin.
Deputy Commissioner, you may have heard people reference there the care team. I think that's really what's enabled us to make the step change in the way that we identify and manage all types of exploitation as far as children are concerned. So 18 months ago, we would deal with child sexual exploitation and child criminal exploitation completely separately, often with work and effort being duplicated and there's not understanding the whole picture. when we stood up the care team, which is the children at risk of exploitation, it combined the two. As Mr. Cooper said, we invested in an analyst, we invested in a team that's dedicated now to that area of business. There are children's social care embedded within that team. Those on the front line are now much more alive to it and diligent, looking for, spotting the signs because of all of what we've done in training. They'll submit what we call public protection notices, which flags an individual, finds its way into the care team, so they flag, then analyse and then develop bespoke plans for individuals. So I think that's what's really made the difference, I think.
Thank you, and that's for the children. What about the women?
With regards to being involved in...
For prevention and for any kind of support network to remove them from that environment?
From the environment of being involved in OCGs and USGs?
Yes.
Tend to be, do you mean adult women?
Yes.
Our USGs and OCGs tend to be youths that are, you know, the vast majority, correct me if I'm wrong, tend to be youths, and they can be a mixture of males and females, but it's very rare we have adult females that are drawn into the USG world.
Where adult females may come into it is with cuckooing offences and being the victims of cuckooing. You do semi-often see their premises taken over by drug dealers if they're users themselves. So our neighbourhoods teams do again work in a multi-agency way with the different councils, their housing departments, the housing associations, social care, etc., with regards to those people. And cuckooing is the victims of cuckooing are looked on as victims of cuckooing. So even if we're putting enforcement measures in place, such as closure orders, we will go for a partial closure order so that they're able to stay in their premises, but we're banning other people from going to the premises. So that's where we mostly see women within this.
All the work we do around public protection notices, the training we've done around vulnerability of the sort of, you know, recognising it and then reporting it in, that all features within this world. What we don't have the same equivalent of a care, because that was a definite gap that we had in our provision before.
Yeah.
But like I say, the work that we've done around public protection, spotting the vulnerability or identifying the vulnerabilities, stopping it, that is much improved. But again, that focuses on a whole range of vulnerability issues, not just the gang and OCG areas.
Thank you. Also, can we just sort of explore a little bit around, obviously we've got quite a lot of youth initiatives and youth engagement, and some of those I know that the PCC funds. In terms of the evaluation of those, how is the learning being shared with our partner agencies?
So again, I think that would be a lot through the joint meetings that we have with them through the IAG, so the Youth Commission group as well, for example. We'll discuss what they think works from feedback that they get in schools that they go to, that sort of maybe is feedback that we wouldn't get ourselves from students. We share it depending on how the partners are obviously funded. We get reports back from them. We look at crime data with regards to before the initiative was in place and after it's been in place, and any reductions there, any particularly good news stories, anything that we did particularly well that worked well for people, or anything that perhaps wasn't as useful. So we'll look at that. Sometimes these kind of things go through our What Works board in Force, which is through the Prevention Hub, where we'll then share that best practice with other areas. So for example, if something has been successful in the city centre area, it might be that it's appropriate for Mansfield to follow a similar initiative in their area. With regards to similar problems that they're having, so then it'll get shared throughout the force that way, and then the Prevention Hub and the Violence Reduction Partnership also then share that information through a number of meetings that we have with stakeholders.
Because I think one of the challenges for me is the narrative of what's being said out there, and there's a lot of negative narrative. A lot of it's based not around truth. You've demonstrated today with the presentation, the amount of work that's been put into knife crime that's really having an impact on the figures. But every single public meeting I'll go to, what are the police doing? And actually the police are doing all of this and more, but that narrative isn't out there. Yeah. And it's how do we get that out there, the message of the work that we do that contributes to the reduction that we see.
So since uplisting, we've now put in the city sort of conurbation areas, there's a stakeholders meeting that we have in place every 3 months to invite those partner agencies and key community members to to try and share and disseminate all the work that we've done, for them to bring us issues that we're still not getting right, and then for us to do work on and feedback on to them. It's difficult because, as you alluded to, it tends to be the pursue strand that the public see. That's the bit where they see the officers outside arresting people, and they don't see 75%, the other 3 Ps sort of thing. So it's really difficult. I think we could definitely be better about shouting about it. We're not great about putting out when we have done something successfully, we just sort of move on to the next thing maybe. But there's a lot of work going on, and I know in the communities we're really keen to share with those IAGs, with CID now going to them as well.
Yeah.
Share the work that we're doing and show people the work that we're doing so they can have a better understanding.
And we do use our corporate communications department and use a lot on social media. So good news stories, when people have been arrested, if there's been an incident and we've had an arrest, and if that person or persons then get charged, we do put out the good news story so they can see if there's a high profile incident, actually what the results of that are. Similarly, when cases have gone through court, if somebody gets a custodial sentence or something like that, then we'll ensure that our communications department are putting that out into the public domain so the public can see, I remember that incident, this is the outcome of it. So I think that's really important, that we keep working with our communications department, keep putting things out onto social media, just so that the public can read at their own leisure the work that we are doing and the results that we are getting, which we've had some fantastic results this year, some really long custodial sentences for some really nasty knife crime, serious violence individuals. So I think that's really important, just to keep putting those news stories out there.
And then with regards to getting it out on social media, we are speaking again with the Youth Commission with regards to getting the targeting, I guess, of youth correct into the messages that we put to them. Not everyone uses Facebook anymore, for example. So we are working with them about how we can get our messaging right and how it can reach those people as well as, sort of Facebook users.
Because I think it would help and reassure the community if they knew this. Because they keep on telling me they don't know it. And they just feel, like you say, they just see the yellow jacket, somebody being arrested, they don't understand all of this behind it, and the impact of that is really powerful. So the more we can shout about that, I think the better. So
do we have our next stakeholder call tomorrow?
It is tomorrow. It's very timely.
So very timely. We'll make sure
yes,
that it's
I'll be there. So but there's going to be questions there about, well, what are the police doing? What are the police doing? Well, actually the police are doing all of this. And the result to that is, guess what? There is less knife crime. However, it's not perfect.
Yes.
We've got more to do. We understand that. So, yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much for that. Fantastic.
It'd be good to use TikTok to get out there to the youth.
Yeah.
And it's great communicating with stakeholders and everything, but I think there should be more done with the communities, maybe through neighbourhood policing, more engagement with the communities.
And we're talking about different ways to engage with the communities as well, such as virtual beat surgeries rather than just in-person ones. Not expecting people to come to a beat surgery, but going out to big supermarkets and stuff and being available there where people are going rather than expecting them to come to us. So there is work on going and expanding how we can get our messaging out there and how people can talk to us.
Yeah, thank you for that. So obviously with the knife crime team, who are recognised, as we keep on saying now, nationally, Nottinghamshire is really starting to set the pace in terms of the work that we do. And obviously we had Steve Cowman came down to Nottinghamshire to look at the work that we do and commended that, and from the Met, who have severe challenges with regard to knife crime, which is always good and great to see. But the question I'll ask, and it fits a little bit into the narrative of what we're talking about, in the sense of, do you think we're doing enough to address the reason people carry knives? Because one of the problems with knife crime is that anybody can pick up a knife from a kitchen and go out and use that knife against somebody, and they can have a bad day, and there could be 1,000,001 reasons why that's happened on that particular day. But the reality is, there are knives in everybody's kitchen drawer that could potentially cause extreme damage or potential death to somebody. And it's what messaging are we doing, and what are we doing to discourage people from using that? Obviously, we need help and support from the government. I get that, and they're campaigning so that only blunt knives can be sold, which would be, I think, a win-win-win and a start of a 10. But what are we doing to really sort of get the message out there? Do not pick up knives.
So I really do think we're trying to approach the problem from all angles. You can't. We're never going to enforce our way out of knife crime being an issue. So I think the work that the Prevention Hub are doing in schools, as young as obviously primary school, sort of inputs to year 5 and year 6, the mini police, the programmes out of school in our deprived areas, giving children another way and another way of viewing things, and all the different engagement events that we put on, I think are really important. I think education is really important. We continue to look at other ways to work educationally. So we're looking to work at the moment with a trauma doctor at QMC who's going to give some inputs as well. We then look at obviously reducing the risks from knife crime. So with regards to trauma kits, we're looking at expanding those into more areas of the county as well. They're sort of embedded in Mansfield in the city centre, but we're working to put those out wider. Working with those partner agencies is really important in the community groups and getting feedback from the community and from young people themselves as to what, and we've done done questionnaires with colleges, etc. What do you think would stop knife crime? What are your point of views on knife crime? What's your point of view on Stop Search, for example? What would get you to not carry a knife? Some of that myth busting as well around the carrying of knives for protection, when actually if you carry a knife for protection you are more likely to be injured yourself. Getting that information out there, and then nationally looking at people bringing in, appreciate you say kitchen knives obviously, but bringing in those illegal knives into the country and stopping that importation, looking at stopping knives being able to be delivered to people under 18, for example, working on that. So I think just there's no one solution. It is a whole system approach that the police can't do on their own, but I think we do have the right people at the table.
And I would echo that. The education side of it is really crucial, starting at primary school level before they're even getting into their teenage years. But as you know, we've got the Benkinsella Trust and the Choices and Consequences at the National Justice Museum. I've been there myself. I think it's fantastic, where it just shows actually these are consequences of carrying a knife, and I think it really brings it home to them. And I know they were looking at putting a trauma room in there, weren't they?
And Benkinsella, having a Benkinsella site in Nottingham, they are one of the 4 P leads nationally for knife crime. So it's great to have a site in Nottingham.
No, I've been to that exhibition, very powerful.
It's really great, the work that you're doing in the engagement and partnership working. I think one of the crucial areas is working with parents.
Yes. Yeah.
And identifying the underlying issues, but also they can check what knives are coming in the house, what's posted, and what's happening with their child as well.
Through those meetings that the neighbourhood policing teams have with regards to at-risk children, they're at a few different levels. So the lower level, there's a sort of lower level, a mid-level, and a higher level of harm. And that lower level, we're really trying that preventative before they get to that offending, looking at the signs that they are perhaps going that way. That's where our Young Futures panel work would come into it as well. At that middle and higher level, we're looking at working with all other agencies, and that includes social care, and they look at, parenting workshops, working with the parents with regards to what they can assist with as well. But obviously, the parents are key. They're the ones that are in the homes with them.
Okay. Question?
So, Kylie, if I could just ask a sort of an internally based question, it might be for chief officers rather than yourself, but I can see that the two of you are sat shoulder to shoulder today, and I don't know whether it's nationally driven, but the fact that you've got a serious violence lead and a knife crime lead, does it cause any confusion or treading over one another's boundaries? Or I don't know the rationale for that, whether it's a local decision or a national decision to separate the two out? Whether it causes confusion?
I don't think it does.
No,
We attend the same meetings on a daily basis at 9 o'clock, so we both have an understanding of what's happened overnight, what's on our sheets in the morning, where are our priorities.
Yeah.
So,
and I think nationally, most forces, if not all, do have a knife crime lead in their force. At the very least, obviously, knife crime has quite a lot of operational work in it, so it's possibly makes more sense that it sits under local policing. And then the serious violence one, knife crime, obviously blends in with that. I think it makes sense, obviously, that sits under.
And I would say, in the city, a lot of our serious violence is weapon-enabled and involves knife crime. If you look at the county, that picture tends to be very different. It tends to be there's a lot of serious violence up there, but it doesn't tend to be weapon-enabled. That can be a lot of, it's a different type of violence that we experience on the county. So I have that holistic view of the city and the county. So I can, whereas knife
I think
crime,
having knife crime as its own distinct item as well just helps to focus on it as its own entity sort of thing, not blending it in with other areas. I don't know if you've got an opinion on that.
I agree, but at NPCC level, they're two different thematic streams, so it probably helps with our reporting structures too. But if we thought there was sort of too much duplication or complication, we can obviously review. But at the moment, it seems to be working well.
Good. Anything else? No? Anything else? No? Okay, can I just thank you for that? Really good input and really interesting to see what's being done, and obviously it's extremely topical at the moment that we sort of look through knife crime and see how we can do it better, and clearly you're on that, which is really important. But it's just important for the public to hear and understand that actually we're very much ahead of the game, and we're very much pushing for more and better to improve what we've already done, which is great stuff. So can I just thank you for that? So item 5, improving road safety, and I will say that this is one of the top areas of concern, particularly for the county. When I meet a lot of our county communities, the first thing they always say to me is, what are you doing about speeding on the road? So this is of high interest to me. There are some really good figures here with regard to the progress that's been made in this area. So we've got 108,000 speeding offences were processed in 2024, with an average of 8,594 notices issued each month, which is a high number. Since 2015, road collisions in Nottinghamshire have reduced by 32%, with a slight injury collision down by nearly 40%. A targeted response to Lime bike misuse in Nottingham has led to successful convictions and new crime reporting processes, with hotspot tracking now in place. And Operation Lockstream, a multi-agency operation coordinated by Nottinghamshire Roads Policing Team, targeted commercial vehicles on the M1 and led to 64 vehicles stopped, 16,600 in fines, 2 arrests for illegal entry into the UK, and multiple traffic offences identified. So there is some really good work again being done in terms of our roads and improving the safety of that. And before we just go to a presentation with Superintendent Clark, I just want to go to the public, and the public have got some questions. So the first question is from Julian from Ruddington regarding boy races on the A52.
I'm Julian, and I live near Ruddington by the A52. My question for the Chief Constable on road safety is this. Every weekend, the A52 is invaded by boy racers in cars modified to make extreme noise. If the police do eventually respond, they scatter only to reappear the next weekend. For the people who live here, it's an intolerable disturbance. For people using the A52 lawfully or otherwise, it's extremely dangerous. It beggars belief that these cars can pass an MOT, get insured, and survive even a week on the road without being stopped and sanctioned. Despite Operation Wheelspin, it's as bad as ever. There's no obvious jeopardy for these people, so they continue to flout the law and endanger lives week after week. When will the police take decisive action to eradicate this antisocial driving menace once and for all?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Julian, for the question. I'll start with a sort of brief overview and then hand over to Louise, who is by far more knowledgeable in this area than I. In terms of antisocial driving, we do take it seriously. We know it is a key concern, not just for the residents of Ruddington, but for other areas as well. I know we probably wouldn't have heard it, but some of the numbers in terms of speeding tickets that we issue, which is another key antisocial behaviour area, both through our static and mobile network, is significant. I think it shows how seriously we take it, along with our driver improvement scheme. We do have specific operations that you've mentioned in terms of Operation Wheelspin and others that look to tackle some of the more nuanced antisocial behaviour, so some of the car cruising that you've spoken about. But like I say, just from the Chief's point of view, it is taken seriously. We do resource it. We understand it's a community concern. And say lots of activity is taking place. And I'll hand over to Louise to talk through some of that activity.
Thank you very much for your question, Julian. We do put some significant resource into how we police our roads across the county. and specifically look at that under different areas. When we talk about antisocial behaviour, it's really important that we understand what that means. So when we use the term boy racers, that tends to be sort of fastly driving irresponsibly. And we tend to look at the Fatal Five operation when we do that, and we use that nationally. It's an NPCC function that we use, that we target different specific areas of irresponsible driving, them being speeding, use of mobile phones, which is distracted driving, careless and dangerous driving, drink and drug driving, and lastly, failing to wear a seatbelt. So we embed those operations into our daily activities, and we take those out to local neighbourhood areas where we look to specifically deal with problem and hotspot areas. We also seek to not only enforce but educate in respect of that. So we look to tackle speeding on a constant daily activity. Across the county, that's in static cameras for us and static sites, as well as we've got 4 mobile safety camera vans that we are located at accident hotspots or areas of community concern. Specifically along the A52, there are speed camera sites, both at Brancott from Brianclough Way to the Priory Roundabout, and in Rushcliffe from Gamston to Radcliffe-on-Trent on the A52 Bingham bypass. So the mobile safety camera vans can be deployed to assist with that also, and proactively deal with roads where there are high speed concerns of non-compliance, or in relation to any specific policing operations. So the Safer Roads team that also function in the department, they deliver the speed awareness courses, and what we recognise is that actually it's the education of the drivers that we need to do to reduce accidents and reduce this antisocial behaviour. So if people are reported for prosecution, they can access a course whereby we facilitate education in respect of driving, which may be antisocial driving, it may be speeding, etc. And we've obviously got some very good stats in respect of how many courses that we deliver. We operate submission of dashcam footage, so all the drivers who are finding individuals on the road who are antisocial can submit their dashcam footage to us. That's under Operation Capture. You can access that through the intranet for the police, Nottinghamshire Police website. And once submitted through the portal, our officers examine that footage and assess whether the footage meets the evidential threshold for us to take some action on. And currently 71% of all the footage that's received we take positive action on and seek to facilitate a prosecution. If it doesn't reach the threshold, then we look to send warning letters, etc. So we are trying to respond to people's concerns directly and target it that way. Alongside Operation Captured, we facilitate drink and drug driving enforcement, so that's under Operation Limit. There will be a December-long operation for Operation Limit when we look to address the issues that we sort of see around the festive area around people drinking and driving. In 2024, 490 individuals were investigated for drink and drug driving offences, and we schedule that in the calendar throughout the year, but specifically around those festive events where we see that people are more likely to make a silly decision and drink and drive. In respect of seatbelts, we all know that improvements in vehicle safety has meant that you'll get a very annoying beep if you continue to drive without your seatbelt on, so that seems to manage most of that issues. But if they are found by officers to be not worn in seatbelt, they'll be dealt with accordingly in response of that. You have mentioned Operation Wheel Spin. That was specifically for us a target of the Mansfield and Ashfield area. It was becoming more prevalent year after year, and the groups of people that were collating and driving irresponsibly, driving dangerously was increasing and increasing. So we designed that operation together with the Prevention Hub, together with the neighbourhood teams, and we targeted it with the roads policing teams and road crime teams and stopped significant amounts of individuals. Some cars were seized, and we issued Section 59 antisocial behaviour notices, whereby that notice stays on the vehicle, and if they are deemed to be driving or stop driving antisocially a second time, then we can actually seize the vehicle from them. And actually that in that area eliminated that problem completely. So that has been successful for us and is an operation that we can move and look to facilitate on the 52 as well as other areas across the force according to demand. We have tried to listen to our communities. We have these operations, but what we've done now alongside the taskings that we have for the organisation is carve some time out every month on neighbourhood policing areas under the operation name Operation Highway, where we look to listen to complaints of residents and understand actually what their targeted focus problems are, and deliver an operation that's targeted to that specific area. And we'll move that operation around the force area week in, week out, moving forward as a background operation. But that includes VIA, so we understand the complaints that are coming through VIA, our partner, through the neighbourhood policing teams, and we work with Fire with Education to deliver a comprehensive package to understand what the problem is and then tackle it in a multi-agency way.
Lovely, thank you.
If I can just add one more thing, and it goes on from Louise's thing about the Operation Wheelspin and the Prevention Hub. At our recent sort of Prevention What Works event conference, we had one of the officers from the roads team present exactly what they did. The work that they do around adaptation of vehicles, so when they've seized the vehicles and given the sort of Section 59, we will work with the insurance company. So if a vehicle has been illegally modified, they will tell the insurance company, that then results in a penalty for the driver then potentially not having insurance, having their insurance removed from them. So there is that dissuasion and that sort of preventative approach. But again, it's that partnership work that, and we know that we can't enforce our way simply out of all of these just as a policing function. So when we get heard about it, we will get the neighbourhood teams out, we will get sort of the partnership out, and we will work with our insurance providers wherever we can.
Great, thank you very much. We have another question, and this is from Stephen from Beeston, on why don't or can't the police take more action to control dangerous cycling and scooters?
Hello, my name is Stephen Dowling and I live in Beeston. My question for the Chief Constable on road safety is, why don't or can't the police take more action to control dangerous cycling and scooter use on the roads, pavements and pedestrianised areas, both in the city and in Beeston? This is a constant problem involving either young people and or food delivery people riding at great speeds, weaving recklessly in and out of other road traffic or swerving around pedestrians, sometimes showing off doing wheelies, often dressed in black clothing with face masks, usually at night time without lights, and commonly, it seems to me, on very powerful electronic vehicles which may or may not be legal and may or may not be insured.
Okay, thank you, and thanks Stephen for the question. I will sort of give a very brief overview and then hand over to Louise. But road safety is a key priority. Almost regardless of the vehicle that's being used, whether it's bikes or whether it's vehicles, we will obviously try and do our best to reduce the harm that happens to road users, pedestrians or other road users taking place. In terms of cycling, if you take the traditional cycling as an aspect, obviously we're seeing more and more cycles on our roads, partly down to the sort of congestion, the ease of getting around the roads, and obviously access for it to be to young people. Education is absolutely key to this, to make sure that people understand what they can cycle, on what roads and what place, and we work with sort of schools through our early intervention officers to do some of that sort of early intervention education work. Enforcement is one of those keys. It does have limitations compared to motor vehicles, for example, because obviously number plates are not so easily visible, so our static cameras and so on, or even dash cam footage is harder to identify. But we will take action where possible. Louise will be able to give far more details around some of the work.
Thank you for the question, Stephen. So it's important to try and identify who we're actually tackling when we're looking at the e-scooters and what we're actually going to do about it. It's a national problem. It's a new style of transport that's not going to go away, and it's termed under the micro-mobility level of transport. But in essence, if you are on a road on an e-scooter that isn't propelled by pedal cycles with actual pedals, then you may be committing an offence. For example, no insurance or riding or riding according to the licence, etc. But when you look at the different groups that are now starting to use these e-scooters and things, we are looking at adults that buy them for their children to go to school. We're looking at people that use them to deliver fast takeaways. We're looking at use that just use them because they're easy to get around on. So we've got a vast usage of these different e-scooters and e-bikes that we need to sort of target accordingly. We recognise that these e-scooters are used on the pavements. I know certainly with the trial scheme, some areas have been put in with wider sort of cycle paths that can be used, but that's not everywhere. So I think it's recognised it's dangerous. It's probably more dangerous than to drive on a road than it is to drive on a pavement, and some people are making that decision. Unfortunately, what that does is put other people at risk, other vulnerable users of the road and pavement spaces on foot, etc., who are also vulnerable. So we recognise that has its inherent dangers. We also have in Nottingham a trial scheme known as the Line Bike scheme, and I think that causes some confusion when people look around and think that these trials, these line bikes that are used, well, if they're using it, why can't I on my e-scooter? So I think there is some significant education that can be done in respect of actually how these bikes should be used. We do have some limitations in terms of legislation and regulation, so anyone can sell these bikes currently, so we're seeing them being sold at Halford, online, Temu, etc. So you can get hold of these bikes very, very easily, and there is no instruction as to how they should be used or what the enforcement is around those bikes, and I think that adds to the confusion as well as the trial schemes that we currently have. So we're looking to address how we can deal with these different impacts in different groups differently. So we're certainly looking at doing that via education. Our schools officers are going into schools and they're doing talks in respect of the use of these bikes and the implications that we have for them. We're running a Christmas campaign together with the fire service in respect of if you're looking to buy one of these bikes for your children at Christmas, this is what the implications are. If you buy them from a site on the internet, and I won't name some of the sites, but the bikes come with some fire restrictions and legislation that's probably not fit for the country, and you might find that e-scooter catches fire in your hallway. So you have to be really careful in respect of some of the safety angles of it. So we're delivering a Christmas campaign in respect of that. We're also looking to sort of target this via new technology ourselves. So we recognise the inherent risk that these people can cause when they are driven antisocially to other members of the road and pavements. But we're looking at how we can best intervene and stop those. For a majority of the groups, children going to school, for example, they will stop on being asked, but some people won't. It's how do we safely get those to stop and identify who those users are and then deal with them. And we're looking at new technology to stun those bikes to see whether we can stop them in that way, as well as other more legitimate means. The roads policing team are there and can deal with them, but they have tactics that are generally delivered from vehicles, and we recognise that the individuals themselves on these e-scooters are vulnerable to that. So we need to be able to balance how we are able to properly police and affect this behaviour without actually causing these people any increased risk. So we are working with neighbourhood policing teams. I certainly know that Kylie's team in the city are looking at the gig economy. So as opposed to trying to stop the individuals who are delivering on these e-scooters, actually going into the takeaway themselves and having the intervention at that stage and removing the bikes and seizing the bikes from them. So I think we are targeting proportionately who is dealing with the bike, understanding how they're using it, and increasing our resourcing accordingly.
I think just to sort of finish up, we are also working with the National Police Chiefs Council lead for this matter across, say, whether it's roads policing, local policing. It's not just a Nottinghamshire issue, it is happening across the country. So any innovation that is available, we will be very happily piloting. Louise has obviously mentioned we're looking at all those different tactics to try and stop these bikes as safely as we can. But we recognise they are an issue, but we also recognise that this isn't something that is simply going to go away overnight. We need to do some work with the manufacturers, the distributors, and obviously government to give us all the tools that we need.
Lovely, thank you for that. And our third and final question is from Joe from Newark.
My name is Jo Hopkinson of Newark-on-Trent. My question for the Chief Constable on serious violence and road safety is why can you not work with local and district councils to ensure cameras are put up in key areas where crime is an issue, and also at road traffic junctions where road safety has become an issue? There are very few cameras in Newark, and surely their installation would help to deter antisocial behaviour, serious violence and extremely poor and dangerous driving, which is sadly now a real concern in Newark. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joe. I'll be very brief on this one. We do work very well in partnership with both the county, city and district councils in relation to road safety, but also other matters of community safety more widely. In relation to cameras for specific sort of accident hotspots, I'll pass over to Louise.
Thank you for your question, Joe. So there are two kind of issues that I think you brought out in that question, and that's cameras in respect of crime. That's definitely dealt with by Newark and Sherwood District Council. Currently, they've funded quite extensive cameras in and around like Newark Town Centre and broadening out into the Balderton area. And that collaboration with the police has worked significantly and successfully. I know that the CCTV operators direct police and have access to our radios and can direct police officers straight to issues that they see. However, the antisocial behaviour team at Newark and Sherwood District Council are aligned to the neighbourhood policing team, work together all the time and recognise where there are new problems and seek funding for additional cameras. And those cameras are slightly different to the issues that we see on the roads that are targeted by more fixed cameras in terms of speeding, to be able to prosecute individuals who drive over the speed limit, for example, and are sort of more specific about their use. So if they're at a traffic light junction, you might find a red light camera on a traffic light junction, and that is controlled by the Nottinghamshire Road Safety Partnership. That's a formed group of over 20 years now, with their aim is to reduce casualties on Nottinghamshire's road and better target problem sites. They work multi-agency across the organisations to encourage and facilitate better coordination of their activities and maximise the effectiveness of resources and activities directed specifically at casualty reduction. So currently, statutory responsibilities and those members present are ourselves, Nottinghamshire Police, Nottinghamshire Fire and Rescue, via East Midlands on behalf of Notts County Council, Nottingham City Council, the Highways England and East Mids Ambulance Service. So they benefit from engagement in different forums. One of those is the motorbike groups. We're involved in an education subgroup such as the Shiny Side Up group and National Young Rider Forum. So we're trying to continually educate young riders and young people who are recently passing their tests, educating and informing their driving. The strategic board oversees the policy and direction of the Road Safety Partnership and is responsible for agreeing funding from partners for specific projects identified throughout the year, and it's committed to being data-led to guide casualty reduction initiatives. So after every fatal or serious incident, our traffic management officer in the force examines that site and has a partnership meeting after every incident, and they actually go and visit that road and assess what has been any causational factors into that accident. So they may change road signage, they may actually change the layout of the road. They recently cut and mowed a lot of grass in respective junctions where there were accidents that were happening, so that we understand what the impact factors are away from the actual driving that may have contributed to any accident. So that happens after every fatal and serious accident. But the project also looks to understand and manage the safety cameras and speed management of different areas, pedestrian safety, motorcyclists, young drivers, drink driving and cycle training. So that all comes under the umbrella of the Safety Road Partnership, of which VIA for Newark is engaged.
Lovely, thank you very much. Just so for the use of acronyms, VIA are the organisation which the council used to put up road signs, road cameras and various road furniture, just for information. Right, over to you, Louise, for your improving road safety and partnership approach to roads safety.
Thank you. So I'm just going to talk to you now about the significant investment that Nottinghamshire Police has made into road safety and some of the teams that deliver that for us under the Operational Support Department banner. So we work with specialist road and camera safety partnerships, specialist roads policing teams and road crime teams, and those together with serious crash investigators all make up the response to policing our roads in the Operational Support Department. They all support daily activity conducted by response and local policing teams who work together to patrol our roads and highways and deliver against the National Road Strategy to reduce collisions and target those who use the roads to commit crime or who choose to drive outside the law. So activities are overseen by the Nottinghamshire Road Safety Partnership. That is a group of people with a strategic function and brings together organisations with a remit to reduce casualties and encourage and coordinate activity, and namely those currently are ourselves, the police, Notts Fire, EMAS, highways and councils, and collectively they seek to identify trends that are happening on the roads, whether it be speeding in hotspots or specific accident sites, and address issues through engineering, enforcement and educational activity. So the engineering we've just spoke about, which is in respect of actual road layouts. So for example, this group were behind the change of the A46 dual link for the Widmer Pool through the Newark area as one such example, but the Gravely Hollows blocking of the road there was as a result of some significant accidents that actually we caused the blocking of that road as a result of those accidents. These are supported by the Nottinghamshire Safety Camera Partnership. It's another partnership between police, city council, via East Midlands and highways agencies, and they manage the fixed and average cameras that are based across the county. To support them, the police have 4 separate mobile camera vans, and they help for mobile speed enforcement or specific operations that can be delivered more locally and more in regard of hotspot areas. Safety Camera Partnership also work for the 3 E's, which is in education, engineering and enforcement. And they facilitate the submission of dashcam footage from drivers across the road who submit dashcam footage via our internet portal of poor driving, and they're assessed for further action or prosecution, and 68% of those last year were submitted for further action. More locally, in support of the neighbourhood policing teams, we conduct community speed watch areas, which are members of the community that have reported concerns to us in their area. We like to get them involved, and we facilitate community speed watch operations with members of the community who come out with members of the neighbourhood policing team in high vis and are there to prevent speeding and capture those who are issued a warning letter in respect of their manner of driving, and that seeks to reduce offending in that specific area. The Safer Roads team for Nottinghamshire provide online and in-person training as an alternative to prosecution. So if you are due a notice of intended prosecution, for example, for speeding offences or for low-level due care offences, then you may have an option to attend a course. We do those in venues across Nottinghamshire, so we actually do those in a face-to-face venue, and that puts reinvestment into the communities if we're using their venue hubs. And in 2024, we delivered 31,788 awareness courses across the county, and that focuses specifically on behavioural change and individuals understanding how their manner of driving is risky and to prevent accidents in the future as a result of that learning. So should there be a serious incident or a serious collision on our roads, that's attended by our roads policing teams who go and attend such accidents, but they're also investigated by a specifically trained team called the Serious Crash Investigation Unit. They attend in support of those roads policing teams all fatal and life-altering collisions. They are supported by forensic collision investigators. They are CID level PIP2 investigators. They remain on call for 24/7, and for the totality of 2024 attended 36 fatal investigations. Some of those may be criminal, some of those may be coronial, but they work and are dealing with those incidents and feeding them back into that strategic road partnership in order that we understand the impact of the drivers and the locations that those happen, so that we can reform and educate as a result of that. The majority of our investigation team are family liaison officers in order that we can best support the families at that really devastating time of some of our serious collisions, but also they're a further resource for the organisation in respect of their skills for family liaison. The Roads Policing Unit themselves, they are made of 3 dedicated teams of advanced drivers. They've got some specialist skills of tactical pursuits and tactical advisors, and look to intervene at more of the high-end level of dangerous driving that we may see or respond to on ANPR cameras that are across the county. They patrol the county's roads and target poor driving habits and behaviours, and as I've said, attend the serious and fatal collisions. They conduct the operations that are the drink and drug drive operations, our Fatal 5 work, and support local policing activities in line with community concerns. They undertake activity in line with national initiatives that I'll come on to shortly with Operation Lockstream, and support regional serious and organised crime enforcement of criminals on the road. We also have a separate road crime team who are again advanced drivers with tactical training, and they target offenders who use our road network, who commit crime, usually cross-border, but also within Nottinghamshire, and those crimes can look like car key burglaries or any serious crime that are being facilitated that require that use of that vehicle to either make off from the offence or are involved in the offence. So this is in support of force tasking, so in support of the force priorities. These teams are allocated and they provide that tactical capability to our serious and organised colleagues and colleagues on MSU who require that level of intervention. They also develop intelligence and use our ANPR capacity across the force so that we are targeting offenders and identifying who are committing crimes and able to enforce on those individuals. So Operation Lockstream has just been mentioned, but that was a national operation aimed at tackling illegal entry into the UK by tackling commercial vehicles along the M1. This happened over 3 days in September. It was a multi-agency operation that was coordinated by the Roads Policing team and aided by modern slavery teams, DVSA and Border Force colleagues. So over that total of 3 days, we stopped 64 HGV vehicles, £10,500 in outstanding fines were recovered and £5,500 worth of new fines were issued by Border Force. £600 in fines were issued by the DVSA in respect of faults on the vehicles. 2 persons were arrested for illegal entry and 2 seized vehicles, together with 16 traffic offences that were submitted for a range of offences, including careless driving, tachographs issues, speeding, and vehicle defects and prohibitions. And we are looking to put another one of those Operation Lockstream operations in place as soon as possible when the agencies are available and we're able to do so. So that's just one example of the impact that we can have with coordinated resources across the partnership. So moving forward, looking at how we can improve, we are always looking at how we can better respond to the needs of the community. How do we coordinate all that data that we have from Camera Safety Partnership, from Traffic Management Officer, from the Roads Policing teams, and better analyse that. Vehicles themselves now, with the technology that they have data in them that we can now access to in order to understand vehicle driving, etc. How do we best utilise that to be able to target problem areas and problem drivers? And we're always seeking a way to better use our data. We're always looking to improve our partnership working to tackle and reduce issues, and particularly looking at those new and encouraging issues that we get, and e-scooter usage is at the top of our list in terms of how we are looking to identify what those issues are and target them appropriately. And performance management of our teams set against the strategic objectives set by the Roads Safety Partnership. So they've set a mandate for us to reduce killed and serious injury collisions. We have reduced collisions from since 2015, as you say, by nearly 40%. We need to really focus on those killed and seriously injured in respect of how we manage to reduce the harm on our roads. And we're looking how we can do that nationally and locally to best manage our resources and our time.
Lovely, thank you for that. Can I just say that obviously, really for the public, that road policing and road safety is paramount to Nottinghamshire Police, and we can see from the input from Superintendent Clark that it's extremely comprehensive in the work that we do. Some of the outcomes that we're getting are being well received, particularly from the city with regard to bikes and e-scooters. And recently there has been an operation which has recovered quite a large number of those vehicles, and hopefully that will relieve some of the stresses and strains of our communities who obviously feel that it's very antisocial when people are riding around on these vehicles. And more work is going to be done, and there are more operations to come, and there will also be a Christmas campaign which will really try to encourage parents of young people to not buy these e-scooters or bikes for their children for Christmas. So on that score, can I say thank you very much for that, Superintendent Clark, and we will close the live session from there. Thank you.